Hey everybody, Don with Brazier Toneworks, and thanks for watching. Today I'm talking about the Fender Greasebucket circuit. This is a different type of wiring that'll just give you a little bit more control over the way you roll off highs using your tone knobs on your Stratocaster. It's a pretty simple mod, a couple little components that we need to get. We'll talk about that, some different types of wiring that we have to do with these capacitors and resistors that are needed. But let's get started. As you can see, we've got a standard Stratocaster wiring here. Your guitar may look like this. You might have done some mods in the past, but we're going to start from this. We're going to take and strip off everything, and we're going to see the components as we need them here. We've got our 3 pickups. We've got our 5-way selector switch, our volume and 2 tone pots, and our output jack. What I'd like to do is I always go over the naming convention or labeling convention that I use for pots and switches, just so everybody's on the same page. Again, these are just mine. Other people use different things, so please keep that in mind. On pots, I go left to right, L1, L2, L3. L2 is always the center. If you invert the pot, the lugs actually switch positions, so just keep that in mind. On the 5-way switch, we have on the left side A1, 2, 3, 4, and on the right side B1, 2, 3, 4. Now this particular mod does require a resistor added to your circuit, and it needs to be wired in series. What I'm showing you here is the different ways that you can wire a resistor to a capacitor. You have parallel and series. We are using the series, but in a parallel connection, you're going to have both ends of the resistor connected to both ends of the capacitor. In a series, you will only have one end of the resistor connected to one end of the capacitor. The other end of the capacitor is left alone. So what we're looking at now is basically the essence of this modification. We need a 0.1 capacitor, and that is wired to lug L1 and L2 of the tone pot. We need a 0.022 capacitor and a 1/4 watt 4.7K resistor. The resistor and the 0.022 capacitor are wired in series, just like I showed you in the previous slide. The resistor line is connected to the top of the tone pot for ground, and the 0.022 line portion of the capacitor is connected to lug L3 of the tone pot. Alright, so in order to start, we need to wire up the guitar. We're going to start as always with grounding. Ensure we don't have a ground loop. We need to ground the top of each tone to the next one, and then take that to the bridge ground. Now, one thing I always try to make mention of is on the volume pot, lug number L3 is always grounded, so make sure you do ground that, otherwise you are going to have an issue. From here, we can move on to the output wiring. We're going to take ground from the top of the volume pot and go to the ring portion of our output jack. And we're going to go from L2 of the volume pot to the tip portion of your output jack. Pickup wiring should be the same as what was currently in your Strat. We're not changing anything there. We're going to ground, obviously, each of the pickups to the top of the volume pot. We're going to take the hot from the bridge pickup and go to A1 of our 5-way switch. The middle pickup is going to go to A2 of the switch, and the neck pickup is going to go to A3 of the 5-way switch. And you can see those here in red, blue, and green. The switch itself does have a jumper. Again, if you're starting with the stock Strat wiring, you probably already have this. If not, what you need to do is you need to wire from A4 to B1 on the switch, and then take another line from B1 to L1 of the volume pot. This will connect that pot to the switch itself. The tone pots will go from B3 to L1 of the bottom tone pot, and B4 will go to L1 of the middle tone pot. And that'll complete the wiring from the switch to the pots. Then we can add our capacitors, just like I had showed you in the previous screen. We have the 0.1 capacitor is wired to L1 and L2. And then the resistor is grounded to the top of the pot, and the 0.022 capacitor lead is connected to L3. We repeat that for the second tone capacitor, and we are done. This is your completed Greasebucket circuit. You're basically having additional control with those 2 tone pots, rolling off some additional high frequencies. We're not changing any of the pickup configurations or anything. This is just strictly additional tone control. It's a pretty simple mod. You need a couple components. You can get those online, or if you want to, you can get them from Radio Shack. If you are going to keep it as a permanent mod, I would recommend you get some quality capacitors. But as you can see, again, it's a pretty easy thing. Give it a try. A lot of guys do like it. Hopefully you will as well. Again, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions or things that you'd like me to try to demonstrate, please email me at braziatoneworks@gmail.com. And as always, remember, tone, it's not just a knob, it's sound advice.